Hi folks, Thomas Simpson here with thomassinson.com, and today is another episode of Big Data, Big Questions. And so today is a very special episode with my friend Cory Minton. So we're going to jump on and we're going to talk about some cool things he's doing around Splunk Conf and how you can get involved in what's going on with Splunk. So they're going to be like vlogging and in a truck. I don't want to spoil it all, but let me just tell you some really cool stuff. So I hope you'll enjoy this interview. It was a lot of fun to record. Work with Cory. You've probably seen me do some videos with him before around Andrew Ning's machine learning course that we did at the Big Data Beard channel, and then also we've heard him on the podcast where we go back and forth and talk with industry experts. So really cool episode. Make sure you tune in right after this. All right, so perfect. So Cory, man, I'm excited that you're on here. I'm excited to talk about this thing called Splunk. I don't know if you know, but I've been kind of working my way through it. But before we start in with the interview, man, for those who haven't heard or haven't listened to you on the Big Data Beard podcast or on any of our other sessions that we've done on there, introduce yourself to the Big Data Big Questions audience.
Hey, everybody. I'm Cory Minton, and my day job is I'm a principal systems engineer at Dell Technologies, focused on advanced technology and emerging technologies. Specifically, I'm focused on Splunk and a variety of the workloads around artificial intelligence. And on the side, I've actually started about 5 years ago, started a blog called bigdatabeard.com. And it's because I was into big data and I clearly have a beard and I'm not that creative. So we started a blog, and then I found other people that were, doing similar things to me, trying out new technology, breaking things and learning along the way. And we started publishing together. And then about 2 years ago, we started a podcast. And I'm excited to say the Big Data Beard podcast, which is available pretty much in any podcast platform, is now over 100,000 downloads. And we've talked to some of the most interesting people in big data, from founders of some of the coolest technology companies out there to people using it in real life and people trying to operate this stuff at scale.
Man, that's awesome. And folks, I mean, that's an amazing beard there. And then I will say, you've heard me talk a ton about podcasting. So this is one of those podcasts you definitely want to subscribe to kind of continue to learn. Because that's what, that's why you're watching this channel, right? Like, to be able to, and, this is, a founder of the Big Data Beard, one of the people that's leading kind of those conversations. So it's great to be able to have something when you're on the train, when you're in the car, on your commute, or maybe on a run, who knows? So Cory, man, I got you on here. I've been wanting to have you on. There's a lot of topics, but today we're going to dive into some of the things that are going on with Splunk, and specifically, are you getting in an RV with Brett and Kyle and driving? What is it? It's thousands of miles, right? Like, tell us what is this? What is this RV? Is it really an RV? What are we doing here? Like, I've got so much to dig into, but give it to me from a high level, man.
Yeah. So basically, the idea or the premise of this
is that on premise or on prem?
Premise is the idea. Premise is the location. It's a slight pet peeve of mine, so I wanted to get that out there. But in all candor, one of the things that happened is Brett Roberts, who's one of the fellow contributors and members of the Big Data Beard, you've probably heard him on the podcast. He and I were sitting at a restaurant having a conversation about Splunk Conf, which is their annual user conference, and it's one of our favorite times of the year. It's a great tech conference of learning, but you get to see a bunch of people, and this will be my 6th time to present, 7th time to attend a Splunk conference. And we always try to figure out how can we make it the fun of Splunk Conference last longer and kind of have an excuse to do something sort of fun. And I have to give Brett credit. Brett had the idea. He was like, what if we do a road trip? And we started iterating on that idea. And what we landed on is something that's taken on quite a life of its own. And it's called the Big Data Beard Road Trip to Splunk Conf 2019. And the basic idea is that we are taking an RV, and we're driving from Boston all the way to Las Vegas, where the conference happens, over a 2-week period. And we're making that RV an IoT RV. So we're landing a bunch of cool IoT tech from Dell Technologies, VMware, Red River Technologies, and Arrow Electronics to basically build a rolling IoT data center. And then we're taking all that data and we're Splunking it. So we're actually using Splunk to surface insights around what's happening in the RV. But because we are the Big Data Beard and we like to create content and have conversations, every day of the road trip, we've decided that we're going to do a new breakfast show called Breakfast with the Beards. And so at 10 a.m. on every day from October 7th till October 20th, you'll be seeing the Big Data Beard live on YouTube, having interesting guests like Dell Technologies CTO John Rose to Doug Merritt CEO of Splunk has even committed to coming on and joining us, and tons of people who are using Splunk and learning about Splunk, even some of Splunk's deepest technical minds from their architecture team and the Splunk Trust. And then we're also hosting a podcast every day, Monday through Friday, during those same 2 times. So basically, we just wanted a way to do something fun for the Big Data Beard boys and girls to hang out together, create content, and have an excuse to do something weird with Splunk and try to learn things, and hopefully have a little fun along the way.
No, that's pretty cool. So is this in any way in conjunction at the breakfast? So is Brett, I know he loves cooking. He's even got, I think he's even got something called Crumbs in his Beard where he's got like an Instagram. So is he cooking the breakfast and then the CTO and then, the CEO of Splunk's going to come in and Brett's in an apron, or is that, what are the rules for this?
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the way it goes, but I have a feeling it's probably going to be far more embarrassing. It's probably going to be like Pop-Tarts on a really bad plate. It's going to be like a college dorm room, I'm guessing. Because you're putting 3 engineers in an RV for 2 weeks. I have to imagine it's going to be pretty uninspired breakfast, but I think the conversation hopefully will be a little bit more inspiring.
So how does this work? Like, is there, so you came up, this is going to be one of my questions. Like, where were you when you came up with this question? But now, okay, we understand you and Brett were at a restaurant, maybe having a drink or two, maybe not, who knows, right? Don't have to tell me that, but I'm just assuming here.
Gentlemen,
so you're coming up with that. So like, what are the rules? Like, are you going to stay in a hotel? Are you all just staying in like the whole time?
So the rules of engagement here are,
there's rules.
Rules of engagement. We're going to have all of us are in an RV for pretty much the entire trip. Now, we're also adults, and we're not in our 20s. I have enough gray in my beard to be relevant, which means I'm also smart at some things. One of those is I'm too old to do 14 straight days of no downtime and like have no breathing room. So we built in a couple of days where, like in Nashville, we figured that was a good place to take a little bit of an extended stop. So we're there for 2 nights, still creating content. We're just taking breaks in the afternoon, not driving, so that like my family can come up from Birmingham and meet me there. Kyle, who lives in Australia, his family is actually from Middle Tennessee, so he'll get to see them. And Brett is going to have a spa day all to himself. And so then we're doing kind of the same thing in Austin about a week later, where, we'll have a chance to have an afternoon downtime, do some laundry, because you can imagine, we don't want to pack that much stuff, because even after the trip's done, we still have to get home with all of our junk. So because the RV is not actually coming all the way back home, it's actually going further west. I'm actually ending after Conf. I'm driving it all the way to San Francisco. But yeah, we're going to be sleeping in the RV. We're going to be camping at, KOA or, kind of Good Sam campgrounds every night, because, one thing that's, true about this situation is that we've got a lot of gear. Like, we got IoT gateways, sensors. We even bought 3 electric scooters for us to get around when we're not in the RV, and all that stuff needs power. And we figured it'd be good to charge up every night, connect to a nice 50 amp electric outlet for the RV to recharge all the batteries, make sure all of our gear, our cameras and our mics and everything are well charged. So yeah, it's campgrounds every night. There's going to be a little bit of built-in breathing room for everybody to collect themselves. But there's not, candidly, a lot of spare time, man. The amount of miles we're driving is insane. I think by the time it's all said and done, I think we'll have driven the RV about 8,000 miles. Oh,
wow. That's crazy. I definitely want to dig into some of the tech, but before we did, you mentioned Red River Technologies, one of the sponsors. So I'm not as familiar with them probably as I should be. And so I know my listeners, I know the, folks subscribing out there watching, let us know a little bit about, their Splunk story and how they kind of tie into this.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be totally honest. This thing would not be possible without our sponsors, and we've had some incredible support. Dell Technologies is a sponsor of this. While they are my employer for my day job, this is being operated by the Big Data Beard, but the Dell team realized there was a lot of value in it and they wanted to get behind it. So they're sponsoring us, helping, offset expenses, but also providing a ton of technology, from Dell gateways to, we'll have Alienware laptops to play Forza, because you got to play Forza at night to keep yourself sane. And then VMware is also partnering, because they've got a great story around some of their IoT investments in software to make it easier to deploy IoT kind of equipment. And then Red River Technologies is really an interesting partner, big Splunk partner and value-added reseller, and big Dell Technologies value-added reseller, based in Washington, D.C., with a heavy focus on public sector, so government type federal accounts. And they do some really incredible work, not only helping customers adopt Splunk and deploy it well on Dell Technologies infrastructure, but also actually they use it themselves in some really cool ways. And I'm excited to have some of their folks come in and talk about how they're using Splunk to even do things like manage their billing cycles and help to ensure, appropriate billing for some of their larger contract relationships that are really heavily governed. You can imagine doing business with the government. And then Arrow Electronics, right? And then Arrow Electronics, everybody probably knows, enormous distributor around the world of technology. And frankly, they have some great investments and partnerships with Splunk and with Dell Technologies. So it was really one of these, everybody came together with the expressed intention of really just trying to show customers and organizations that are trying to adopt and deploy Splunk well, that there's this ecosystem around Splunk that's really there to support them, help them be successful. And that's really what the show is going to be about, is we're going to be finding, interesting people who are having success with Splunk, whether it's in their business and success, treating their lives, right? And hearing it's hopefully to inspire people that Splunk's a pretty awesome platform for machine generated data, but also understand that the ecosystem out there is there to help support them.
That's really cool, man. Like I said, definitely got not possible without sponsors in the whole ecosystem. So a lot of awesomeness there. So let's dig into some of the tech, right? So what are some of the sensors that we're doing and how are you kind of incorporating those? I've seen some screenshots and some other things, but definitely, let's start off with some of the sensors that we're doing and then how we're tracking those.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a couple of ideas that we wanted to start with, and some of those are fully fleshed out now, and some of those are still in the process. And frankly, I'll just say that, one of the things that we realized is that we have a lot of ideas, and some of them may not come to fruition until we're all in the RV together, right? Rolling down the road, seeing the data in real time. So right now we're kind of in the build mode. And so we have some ideas around, we wanted to monitor things like, really basic engine performance and kind of the internals of the RV. So we're using some adapters to get data off of the Cummins engine platform from the data port, which is similar to like a onboard diagnostics port on your car. And we're actually using a tool called Automatic that will actually bring that data out. It's got a 4G LTE card in it, GPS in it, and it streams that data to their cloud service. And then we can actually open up an API and use Splunk to call the web API to pull all that engine data and kind of metrics about what's going on in the RV into Splunk and start to understand, how the motor's performing and lots of different sensors. Candidly, we don't have any of that yet because I go pick up the RV this weekend. So we'll start to play with that. The stuff that we have figured out is we wanted to do things, that were easy from a IoT story perspective. So things like, GPS, temperature, vibration. Imagine like we're having to build little, we started out in our testing with Raspberry Pis, right? And just using the basic hobby sensor kit to figure out what are interesting things we could do. So one of the things we're doing is like road quality. So as we roll down the highway, we're going to have these vibration sensors in the RV monitoring kind of how much vibration is going on so that we can start to determine, what states have the best interstate system and kind of come up with a road quality index. We're going to monitor the comfort of the RV inside. So temperature, humidity, those kind of things, and in different places so that we can actually understand comfort versus in the bedroom versus the middle of the thing versus in the cab, because there are 3 different air conditioning systems. We're also doing kind of an homage to one of the kind of the Splunk stories that always shows up at the Splunk conference is how Dubai airports, which is a really cool advanced airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, they actually have instrumented a lot of their bathrooms with sensors to understand usage patterns so that they can optimize the cleanliness and the cleaning services to give you as a passenger a great experience in their restroom. And they called it the Golden Bathroom Project. Well, we know this is an RV. It's not a Dubai airport, so we called it the Bronze Bathroom. Not quite golden. So we actually have in the bathroom, we've got sensors that will be able to identify number 1, number 2, and then also, did you wash your hands after you use the restroom? Because there's 3 grown men in the RV, and we would like to ensure that people are being clean. And so washing your hands, we actually have it set up to where it'll alert via email and text when somebody doesn't wash their hands, so we can appropriately. And then some of the other sensors we're doing are really around usage patterns. How is the IoT environment performing in the RV? Because we have sort of a hybrid cloud deployment, right? Think of it as small servers running in the RV that are collecting data, aggregating it, and then we're actually sending all that data across a 4G, LTE connection up to Splunk Cloud. So we have a hybrid cloud deployment running on Dell infrastructure and in the cloud. One of the beauties of Splunk is it can run in that hybrid environment. And we wanted basically to run that way because we want to expose, and we'll show you the dashboards, and we'll send you links to where you can access them. We wanted to expose all those dashboards publicly. And if I did that and everything was running in the RV, I'd be asking the world's internet to come across a 4G connection into the RV to view my dashboards on the search heads in the RV, and that's just not feasible. So using the cloud allows us to scale that in a public fashion, in a public domain, that makes it easier to access. And the last one we're doing is really around health. So we're going to be monitoring the health of each of the participants using there's an open API for getting the health kit out of your Apple Watch. There's a software development kit that opens up those APIs, and we're actually pulling those APIs using an app built by Splunk. And then one last one I didn't mention is, it's not all business and work along the way. So we like to play a game on Xbox and on Microsoft laptops called Forza. And Forza Horizon 4 is the latest version. And in that version, they opened up what's called UDP, which is basically a data protocol for exporting all the metrics about how you're driving the car. So pedal pressure, steering pressure, brake position, heat of brakes, like how much wheel spin you have while you're racing online. And so we'll actually be splunking all of our Forza sessions as we play in the evenings and try to wind down and chill out. All that stuff will be being splunked. So it's a lot of, there's a ton of sensors, and candidly, like I said, I don't even know if this is all the stuff we're going to want to splunk really. Like we may be rolling down the highway and have some big idea of, oh man, look at this cool correlation. And I think that's really the value of Splunk, is that it gives you the ability to simply onboard data. And that data may be your first intended use is for one thing, but you might discover through your splunking that there's these other uses and there's these other, relationships and data that might be meaningful. So we're hoping to uncover some gold.
Yeah, no, for that bronze bathroom. Whoever's not washing their hands has to be the one that cleans it.
Oh, we're shaming him. I asked Brett to work on making it to where we can publicly post that on Twitter when somebody doesn't wash their hands, and then we could take votes on who they thought it was. Oh, one other thing I thought we were smoking is, we're gonna have some tunes on while we're rolling down the highway in this RV. It's got a killer sound system, so we're actually using Spotify, and we've set up a Big Data Beard account, and we're splunking what our playlists look like, and we'll actually be exposing a voting button to where you can start to add music to our Spotify playlist, so we can potentially be very embarrassed by what you choose to play for us in the RV.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Like I'm excited to see that, and selfishly, and I know a lot of the folks that are watching this, you've got to have some, as you're setting up these dashboards, if you can give us a behind the scenes on how you're building these out, I think that'll be huge for the audience, right? To be able to see that and kind of see, hey, this is how we're because like all those ideas, I do a lot in Splunk, but I've never tried to run it off of, a car or any, or Xbox either. Yeah. So, sounds all crazy voodoo, but I'm sure as you get in there and, whoever's setting up those dashboards, it'd be really cool to see how it's kind of done behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll absolutely share with you some of that in some kind of subsequent conversations. But I'll tell you, one of the things that we've been really intentional about in this development was we recognize our own, deficiencies in some of this, right? We know, like, we're beginning in a lot of these cases. We've got Splunk certifications and we've been through a bunch of training, but, it still can be hard, right? And I'm not an expert in SPL by any stretch of the imagination, certainly can craft some things, but really one of the things that we've focused on is what are the things that have already been done that we might stand on the shoulders of other people's great ideas, but use them in a new great way. And I'll tell you that that's one of, I think, the most valuable things about Splunk, specifically even in the enterprise, right, is so many of the problems and challenges of getting data from some source and surfacing valuable intelligence from it has been done. And it's not just in the Splunk app, it's in the ecosystem, right? It's in the Splunk base, right? Splunk base is the biggest app store. And so I can tell you, like the health data stuff that we're doing, we're literally using a pre-built app that somebody in the ecosystem built and published to Splunk base, and we're simply surfacing it ourselves. The Spotify TA and app was actually built by our team. And so Brett used some existing knowledge around building APIs to do calls, right? And some other apps that we looked at, but then used his own kind of know-how around SPL to build the appropriate queries. And we're really trying to package everything up in a reusable manner so that it's not like, man, we have to rebuild it. Because one of the things that's kind of we realized was we had to build all this stuff in a lab environment, and now we're having to go through a migration, right, to a hybrid cloud. And so we really wanted to make this stuff repeatable and packageable in a neat way. So one of the things that I think Brett and Kyle did a really good job of, and I want to give them enormous kudos. This is
no. We don't even know who these guys are.
No, they're incredible. You wouldn't believe the amount of work at night they've been doing to get this thing like in the spare time done. It's incredible. But one of the things I thought that they did really intelligently was anytime they built something in the lab environment, they would package it up into a Splunk app. So they're actually building their own Splunk app and add-on so that when we go from this lab environment to a hybrid cloud, it's not a complete rewrite of having to go build all these scripts again and build all your SPL commands again. It's a deployable app that actually now what you do is all you have to do is go tell it, hey, by the way, I know we changed the IP for, this source. Let's just go change that in settings. And then everything flows from those configuration settings. So I'll say, behind the scenes, one of the things we've tried to do is reuse where possible, right? Stand on the shoulders of giants. I know there's lots of memes and stuff about coders. The real life of coders is copy and pasting and GitHub.
Oh, Stack Overflow. I mean, that's my life.
Yeah, it is. And it's fine, right? I'm not, and actually I'll be honest, man, that's one of the biggest things I struggle with, I'll talk to organizations that are like, how do I get started in my journey of building an IoT sensor framework to derive value from all this stuff? I'm like,
GitHub.
Start with the stuff that's already done. Exactly. Have you Google searched it to see if somebody already solved this problem? And it's incredible. I'll do that in conversations with, CTOs and these really wise people. And I'll be like, well, have you tried this like in GitHub or Stack Overflow or like in Splunk Base? Have you deployed that? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, don't come talking to me until you've done the research. Like, don't make me be your Google. So Google it and steal it, but be nice and responsible.
That's so right. The giants before us used to say, read the manual, right? If you read the manual nowadays, there's an example in there, and you can take that example, and that's your base level application.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, but I want to say again, Brent and Kyle have done an incredible job on bringing this thing together for us.
Definitely, man. So, for my listeners, and you may not know this about Cory, but Cory and I both live in the southeast of the United States, and we have our own little shed. So we're going to wrap this thing up because we have to turn the air conditioner off. And although it's fall, it's still the summer in the southeast. So I've got a couple more questions, and then we're going to roll down. Yes.
Already got to 77 degrees in my office.
I'm only at 72, but I had it running before
yours is better insulated than mine.
Yeah. So I got two more questions, and then we're gonna let you roll. So, and this can come from like, what pet peeve do you think that somebody has that's really going to drive you bonkers, right? Because closed space, personal space, like does somebody chew, or if somebody chews like their cereal and you can hear it, like what's going to drive you bonkers?
I think it's probably going to be, Brett's love of Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber. It's either that or it's going to be the sound of Kyle crying because the Tennessee Vols are so bad at football. It's going to be one of those two.
He shouldn't come back. if that's going to
stay in Australia,
he can't. Like, I'm not an anti-Tennessee person.
No, I love Tennessee.
A lot of my family members are, but I mean, I've had some social media posts this year, and I was just like, I just don't understand. Like, what's going?
It's
like,
bad,
really?
Dude. It's really bad.
I mean, so
yeah, right, Kyle crying. That's probably it. Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad you guys are going to go by Neyland Stadium and he can see a game. I mean, I think you can do it. I think you can get a ticket.
Yeah. I don't think that's a problem.
All right. So last thing, let the viewers know how they can connect with you, how they can participate, right? Like, how they can participate from, looking at your dashboards, but even following you through this journey.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to follow what we're doing is go to bigdatabeard.com, and right at the top of the screen, you'll see Road Trip to Conf. And that page right there is going to be updated along the way. It's already got links to all the live streams as well as our schedule, has links to all the podcasts. Some of those links obviously aren't live yet because we're not published yet. But as we publish any of those pieces of content from live streams and podcasts, That'll all end up on that page. I highly encourage folks to obviously go out to their favorite podcast platform and subscribe to the Big Data Beard. We're in iTunes and Google Play, and then pretty much any of the other third-party Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher, all that stuff out there. And then follow us on social media. So you basically, if you go out to either Twitter or Instagram, you just go at Big Data Beard. And then you can follow my personal feed on Twitter at Cory_Minton on Twitter. And I'll be posting some fun, probably non-official feeds from the web show.
Well, that's perfect, man. I can't wait to watch. I'm really excited to see how it all kind of turns out. And, I'll have to have you on the show again. But thanks again, everybody. And I'll see you again next time on the episode of Big Data, Big Questions.